Welcome to the OFX podcast. I'm Dave Claxton. Along with me, as always, is the Atomic Atlas assassin, Bethany McChesney.
I like that.
See, that's good. That's good. That's a good one. It's that one. We need a new shirt, Beth. We got to get that one on the back of a shirt now.
Dude,
The
that
Atomic
matches
Atlas
in really
assassin.
well with what we're going to talk about here.
That's right. And the Deca man himself, the one and only Yancy Culp. And Yancy, I mean, straight up, really simplistically, you guys built a bit of a hype here, and everybody's been asking. So let's go straight in. Atlas is coming. Let's start with the thought process. Why we did this?
Well, believe it or not, every little step we've ever taken with DEKA has, I mean, even down to DEKA Fire, everything is methodically thought out. In my wife would say almost insanity fashion. She sees me. She always takes a picture of me when I'm at the dry erase board. You know, sometimes it's outside with a beer, sometimes it's in my office, sometimes it's laying on the floor, it finds me in a closet. There's always method to the madness, and ultimately, um, in order, as you know, with DEKA, everything you know about DEKA right now was truly designed to be, if we go to any community across planet Earth, if it's in Canada where you guys are located, or the US, or anywhere overseas, like I always say, create a globally recognized sport designed for all levels. If we pull 1,000 random people off the street, everything you know with DEKA right now, 99% of the people are going to finish. We're going to hang a medal around their neck. Some are just going to be a lot slower or faster than others. Um, Atlas hits a little different. It is a strength foundation. Let's call it a strength foundation that I would personally love. And I think the Peter Attias of the world and people like this on the call, you two rock stars. Wait a second. You called her the Atlas. Give it to me one more time, Dave.
Atomic Atlas Assassin.
Atomic Atlas Assassin.
There we go. Yes.
Triple A. You need, when you're in trouble, you need Triple A to come get your ass out of trouble. Bethany will save you. Holy crap. It's too good, man. I was thinking about it while I was talking, and I couldn't remember
We've
exactly what you
we've
said, but
we've done
Atlas,
this is like episode 216, I think,
yeah,
217, and we have had, other than about like the first four episodes, so let's call it 210 different names for Bethany.
I've taken note of that one just in case I forget it again. Um, so, and just for the listeners and viewers right now, that name works so well in my head because Dave and Bethany were two behind the scenes helping us test everything out. And I mean, Dave, for example, we probably 200, 3, 4, 500 messages, private messages, phone calls, Google Hangout calls, Bethany testing it. And then me, here she is trying to get her kids to hockey matches, and I'm bugging her all the way there. And she's nice enough to take all the freaking messages, and I can see her up in the hockey stands, and she's answering all my wild, crazy messages. So just pumped to both of you and everybody else out there in about 6 or 7 different countries that helped us. JC and Jared and I had the Old Man in Kmart for almost 4 months in Denver, and where we murdered the plan, and we would have people come in at night and test. We had like 20 CrossFit Games athletes come in one for a couple days, and just the people 100 pounds overweight and everybody in between. But Atlas hits different. It is a higher level foundation. It is a foundation where I would love for 90+% of the world to be up on that foundation and be able to complete it once they see what it is this Wednesday. After we tell the affiliates, we're going to give them first dibs on all the information, and then things will get leaked out. But I'm going to guess, it's a rough guess coming from an old 52-year-old that's been coaching fitness for freaking 25 years. I probably coached probably 5,000-6,000 group exercise classes. I've learned a lot coaching high level athletes, this side of the equation, everybody in between. I'm guessing somewhere 10% of less can do Atlas out of the gate right now. But one of the key things, and I just got off a call with Robin, we were talking about it was the word attainable and all the synonyms that fall under attainable. And there's a lot of great ones. It is a test. And Dave, you know this, and you too as well, Bethany, because you helped with the testing. It was extremely important that the people that there's no way in hell they can do it right now can look at it and say, I bet you if I go to my coach and say, can you train me 6 months, 12 months, macro cycle of specific training? And when we talk about specific training, once you see the 10 zones, which we'll talk about here in a bit, we're not talking about crazy high skill movements. We're talking about basic movement, and you need to have a good base level of strength. I can go to my coach and say, can you get me there? And 99.9% of the time, the answer is going to be yes, I can get you there. And we mean that. That's not blowing smoke up anybody's ass. We mean that it is attainable. I was doing a podcast earlier with Coach Marshy in the UK, and we were talking about 100 years ago, there wasn't a need for gyms. There wasn't a need for DEKA ATLAS tests. There wasn't a need for hybrid fitness. There wasn't a need for get your butt in the gym and train because I'm now a corporate executive and I don't do work. I'm not out on the farm. I grew up on 600 acres, man, working my ass off. I would go into football practice and I was strong because of labor, because of work. There's just a much lower percentage of people. So no harm, no foul to them. But the gyms, Bethany's a gym owner. The gyms are wildly more important to us as a society now than they were. We didn't have gyms 100 freaking years ago. They just didn't really exist because there wasn't the need. But this is designed to be a bolt on for the Bethany's out there that have a gym that's like, yes, you can do this. And when I hang this medal around your neck, it freaking means something. And if you can't do it out of the gate, you don't get the medal. That's going to be way different than right now. You don't get the medal unless you finish this within the time cap.
So,
Typically, Yancy, I just took us down about three
no,
rabbit
that's
holes.
perfect. That's perfect. Like I said, and that's the why, and that's the why, and that's I think that's the big thing, right? The big difference is everything that DECA has been to date has been for everybody. This is
Mhm.
it's different. This is, like you said, there's a barrier to entry, that there is no regard for that low barrier. Everyone can do it. It's and I do think you guys have it right with it's not for everybody, but it can be for anyone. Or
That's
it
exactly
is that attainable. And like you said, we can go through the zone, the stations or zones or whatever, and you see that everyone can get to that level. It's not that you have to become this monster to get there. Everyone can get to that level. Um, yeah, let's go in. Let's just dive right in. Get in there. You,
Let's use zone one as the perfect example of what you just said. I, when this test wasn't built about, hey, what would meet Yancey's, what would be great for Yancey right now? Barbell thrusters out of the gate is zone one times 20 reps, 95 pounds for the males, 65 pounds for the females. It's a very common test that you see in CrossFit competitions, CrossFit WODs. And it's just a good basic barbell front squat, come up out of it and press it over the head. You know, I'm over the last 2 months, let's just say my body has been a constant level of soreness. It's like I've lived with DOMs for 2 straight months from doing all the testing. I'll run down and like, I need to try this, need to try that. I know, Dave, there's a few days you felt the same way. But I'm better at thrusters. I am better today at thrusters. If I went out and tested right now, I would probably do a set of 12 and a set of 8, and I would not be anywhere near as gassed as I was 2 months ago, the first time I started testing. I'm a 52-year-old guy that's got a great level of strength at 52, but I wasn't doing a bunch of barbell thrusters. It's a simple move. It's not a super high skill move. It takes good mobility, good upper and lower body strength, and a little bit of balance and coordination, semi-level, high level, I'd say mid-level skill. And I'm way better at it because I've been doing more of them. Zone two. So let me back up. Yeah, again, zone one, barbell thrusters, 95 and 65 pounds, 20 reps, and everything. I think I did a little better job with Atlas than I did way back in 1920 with DECA. There, if you're in a European gym, let's say, or a US gym or a Canadian gym, the kilos and pounds is going to convert super seamless. We could walk into every every gym on planet Earth that just loves doing strength training. They're pretty much going to have everything they need to activate right out of the gate with at least 1, 2, maybe 3 lines of equipment. Zone two, we use that exact same bar as long as as long as you have standardized plates. I think 17.7 inches. I can't remember the metric there. That gives you that bar height, 20 burpee over bars. You can do forward facing, lateral. You can surf, whatever you want to do. You just got to get your ass up and over that bar every time after you do your burpee. Zone three is I freaking love it. Fist bump to you, Dave. You played a role with this when we kicked,
Yep.
when you create something like this, it's the same thing with DECA. I remember when we had the original DEKA, I had like 10 zones that I thought were just freaking spot on. And you get a couple more smart minds, and there's always one or two zones that you start tinkering with. And this is one that I know we tinkered with for a long time. And it's the surrender lunges. And you know, you got a couple options here. And like several of the other zones, you know, think about going to the farm and there's a tat or a laborer out at the job, an engineering site. You know, there's work to do. I got to get this pipe from here to there. There's a couple of these zones where, you know, with surrender lunges, you can bear hug a weight plate. You can put a weight on your shoulders, or you can single shoulder rack it, or you just got to get the work done. You know, it's kind of a progression to DEKA Zone 1, the alternating reverse lunge. We're going to step straight backwards till that first knee makes contact. That second leg is going to swing backwards. Now you have both knees on the ground. You're standing up, or you're from your knees at a 90, pretty much a 90 degree at the knees. Your trunk is nice and tall. Then you're going to come up out of that surrender lunge and you're going to stand up nice and tall to complete that first rep and just continue repeating for 20 reps. So I kind of think of this one as a little bit of a progression to DEKA Zone 1. And let's admit, it'll be a little easier to judge.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a grind though. Those surrenders
yeah,
are always a grind.
once we get through these, what the viewers and listeners will kind of be able to realize is, oh, there's like 4 to 5 zones here that are freaking heavy and hard and kind of push out 90% of the masses. And the other 4 to 5 are like, it's just really nice hard work meshed in that really isn't about probably 50+% of the world could do these 4 or 5 if they were by themselves, or a little 4 to 5 zone workout themselves, which will be nice. You know, you can, okay, I've got these 5 mastered. Let me start chipping away at the other 5 that give me grief. DEKA Zone 4,
Yeah. So 1 second, Chance. Wait for surrenders.
surrenders is 45 and 35.
There we go.
45 and 35. Um, the DEKA Zone 4 is commonly called single arm dumbbell snatch, one arm snatch. We're calling it a ground to overhead. Most people that can do it will do just a nice fluid snatch right above the head, and you have to switch every time. But if that is regressed down to a clean to a push press, that's absolutely fine. 20 of those reps, 50. Single dumbbell, of course, 50 for the males, 35 pounds for the females. And you have to switch hands every time. DEKA Zone 5 is one that I'm really excited about. I've probably freaking done 3,000 meters of this one. It's been fun watching everybody do it. This is one of those that a lot of people are going to say, wait a second, I don't think I've ever seen that in competition. You know, and when we think about a bear crawl, I love the contralateral animal-based movement so much. Judging a bear crawl in competition is virtually impossible because you can just fly and it'd be really hard. But in this case, us guys, you and I, Dave, we're going to have a 50-pound dumbbell in each hand. Bethany would have a 35-pound in each hand. So if you picture Dave and I, we're bear crawling with 100 pounds. And there's one very basic rule. Actually, let me back up. There's 3 zones that are going to use a 5-meter down and back zone. This is the first one. And we chose 5 meters versus 10 for the smaller footprint gyms just to be a little more convenient. So this is going to be a 40-meter dumbbell bear crawl. And the main rule that it just forces you to stay down in a bear crawl position. And again, this was, you know, people like Dave and others really helped. There was just a ton of us doing this, and we would watch 7 or 8 different people doing this. And this key rule plays a very key role in preventing people from cheating. This is, as you're crawling, the front of the toes, the front of the feet, the toes can never cross the backward plane of any dumbbell. So there is just, I mean, I've had some big, strong guys and girls. For example, Lauren and Anthony try to cheat this. Is like, we can't cheat it. We just can't cheat it. And it's one of those where, like myself, I've been practicing and I've got a lot better, but you can't just race through this. I've gotten better at maybe grabbing a few more centimeters with each put down, and just a little more efficient. But it's down and back, and it's one of those zones that for some it'll feel really heavy because you got to lift and place that freaking dumbbell. But it is that zone that gets in the head more than any of the other 10. It's just like, you know, the nose faucet is turned on. You're sweating down on the dumbbell, on the mat. You kind of start to feel a little miserable for yourself. and you get in your head a little bit. So down and back. So you'll get both dumbbells past that 5 meter line. You'll do a quick 180 body turn and you'll come back. So every time you just have to get both dumbbells past the line before you can transition. DEKA Zone 6 is sit-ups. Right now we do 20 and 14 pounds of the sit-ups. This is going to be 35 and 20. And I want to give a fist bump to Bethany on this one. Really played a key role in helping me choose the weight standards. Again, this is one of those few zones. It's not designed to knock anybody out. It's designed to help check the box that we've got this really good full body functional fitness strength test. You really can't knock these out. And I think Dave said it like I did. This was one of those that I didn't think was going to smack me around a little bit, but I was like, this freaking sucks, man. So it's 35 pounds for the males, 20 pounds for the females, and it's 20 reps. Same thing. The weight touches the ground behind the head, and you sit up, and the feet have to be spread apart enough. You can use weight plates, you can use balls, you can use sandbags. I did it with a dumbbell today, really firm grip on a 35-pound dumbbell, and it was like tap and tap, and I would switch my hands every now and then. So there's a couple zones that there's like, oh, there's 3, 4, 5 different weight implements that I can use. Again, that's about convenience for the gyms. And I think there may be a small percentage of people that kind of like, I don't like that. It should be one standard implement. I really like the fact, again, I love the fact that this is going to be a revenue generating test that our affiliates can bolt on. But as important or more importantly to that is our gyms can, I mean, if one of our gyms wants to throw 6 lines of equipment in the bed of a half-ton pickup truck, they can really easy and set this up and get a lot of people tested in a 4, 5, 6 hour period and get their members training for this. So it's very accessible. DEKA Zone 7 is a freaking nightmare. It is hard and it's heavy, and it's going to be the one that one of those, I would say definitely in the 3 to 4 zone categories that, like, when people first hear it, I get people sit back in their seats like, whoa, are you kidding me? It's for Dave and I, it's a 200-pound farmer's carry, 100-pound in each hand. For Bethany, it's a 140-pound farmer's carry, 70 in each hand. And this zone 7 and zone 10, what I really like is there's actually kind of like 2 zones in one, 2 zones in each zone. For example, you're using a 5 meter down and back zone. You're going to deadlift that weight, carry it 5 meters down and back. You got to place it back down. Turn around, deadlift it again. It's 60 total meters, so down and back 6 times. So it's 6 deadlifts with that 200 or 140 pounds and 60 meters of total carry. Of course, you can place them down as many times as you want to, but every time you place them down during that down and back, you have another heavy-ass deadlift. Zone 8 is a dumbbell shoulder to overhead. So you're going to clean it up. And if you can go unbroken with a strict press, a jerk press, or a push press, a push jerk, I should say, where, you can use that push press if you'd like. If you can't go unbroken, you got to set that 100 pounds or 70 pounds down and then do that clean again. And I'll just, for the viewers and listeners there, I have seen some badass athletes that flat out, I won't throw them on the bus, that flat out told me, oh, I guarantee you I'm going to be able to go unbroken. And we were like, oh, guess what? You didn't go unbroken. So 20 overhead presses there. Zone 9, I really love this one. This one, we all went back and forth on this one for probably a month, and it ended up going down to basic convenience and low-level skill, and kind of taking us back to elementary school. It's 100 single unders with an old, with a speed rope. If your gym has them, or you can just use the old school. I always think of that rope that I had as a kid. It was like a piece of rope, and it had about 200 little plastic
Blackers.
noodles, the banger noodles that would slap the ground. But it's a single under, and it's, I've talked to a lot of CrossFitters, and they're like, the first 2 or 3 minutes, like, I don't think I like this, because they're so used to double unders. But you know what? This takes me back to my first week. The very first time I walked into a CrossFit gym, I was learning single unders again. And you really, some of them right now, they're like, Lauren, for example, she's like, until I get good at them again, it takes me longer to do singles than it does doubles. But I love just a little bit. You can skip through it 1 foot at a time, or you can hop through it. But just a little bit of compression, which I love for the bone density, a little bit of jumping. which we know is great for bone density, especially for the females who actually lose bone density more than the males as we start aging. But it's good for all of us. We need that little bit of hop and pound on the muscles. I'm sorry, on the bones. And it's just a little bit of skill, and it's kind of fun. It's every time I've tested 5 times, and every time I'm like, oh, I get a little bit of break going into the nightmare zone 10. I'm like, shit, this is not a break. Um, and this brings us to zone 10, and it's kind of it's the big red bow that goes on the pretty box here that we call DEKA Atlas, and it's a nightmare. It's 100-pound dead ball or sandbag for the males, 70 pounds for the females. Again, you've got to picture yourself at the start line of a 5 meter down and back zone. You have to shoulder that weight. It must be shouldered, not a bear hug. You've got to get it up here, and you're going to carry down and back. And now you have to drop that weight where 100% of that weight is past the line. You're going to turn around. Your body's behind the line, your feet. You got to re-shoulder it. You're going to rinse and repeat that 9 more times for a total of 100 meters of 100-pound carry or 70-pound carry and the 10 ground to shoulder. And, going a little bit into we were talking about this before Dave hit record. The 6 people on this call right now, I'm going to go ahead and expose it. All 3 of us were in the 16s. And I just thought that was pretty freaking cool. 3, Dave and I, old people, and Bethany, not so old, but just
She's
normal.
old. She just looks young.
No, yeah,
It's
she
true.
makes us look really, really old, Dave. But Dave, what do you, Dave? 49 or 50?
40. I'll be 49 in December. So
49 in December, 52 here. And it's just an example of 3 people in this call that, and like I told Bethany, what I loved about Bethany tested is Bethany's kind of like me. It's like we're small in stature. We're not big people, but we're still really pound for pound, we're strong. And knocking out a 16-minute is, I think a lot of people will look up to Bethany in that case because you damn right you can be freaking strong, and you have to be strong. You cannot check this box if you don't have a good strength foundation. Yeah, do you have to be powerlifting strong? No. Are there going to be a small percentage of a small handful of people in most gyms that can like, I'll knock this out in sub 15, no problem? Of course. With a time cap of 30 minutes, we kind of looked at people like us, that 16-minute crowd, 15, 16-minute crowd. I was like, let's double it. I have had a couple people that are right around 29, 30, 31, and they're still, if you go to do this and 29, 59 or faster, is what you got to do it in. It checks the second box for us, which is very important. The strength, obviously, if you don't have the strength box check, you can't do this. But if I've got an old buddy that's 40, 50 kilograms overweight, but he's really strong, if I give him all freaking day, he'll eventually do this. Well, that doesn't check the work engine box. You got to have work capacity. He doesn't have that right now. So we didn't want him to earn us that. You got to have the work capacity box checked as well. So you got to be able to, at a decent pace, you have to be able to keep going. You can't just sit there for 2 or 3 minutes between every single zone and rest. So that's the rundown on all 10 zones.
I just want to go back because I don't know if you mentioned that it was mandatory that you have to, with the farmer's carry, to put it down every.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's
Yeah.
6. You have to deadlift that weight 6 times, 5 meters down and back. So now you're sitting at 10 meters. You have to place them down. It says under control. You can't just throw them down. Under control, turn around, pick them back up, go again. Yeah, so 6 deadlifts to go with your 60 meters of carry.
Yeah. Yeah. I that's one of my favorite ones, actually. I like that one. But yeah, you need an engine and stuff. And when you think about it, where you talk about like, a lot of people, I can go through that unbroken, I can go through unbroken. 20 reps is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're doing 20 reps over this whole workout for many different things is a lot. And it's really hard to go unbroken. Yeah, people can do it, but it's not easy. Even coming out of the gate, 20 thrusters at 95, 95, 65, when you're trying to pace yourself for the whole thing to go unbroken there, it's like maybe you can, but you might not should.
It's such a good point. There's 90% of the world or more cannot do DEKA Atlas as a whole right now. That's my guess. A decent, something greater than 10% can knock out 20 95-pound or 65-pound thrusters. But if that takes, I've seen people take like 5, 6, 7 minutes to get through it, and you're as tired or more tired than somebody that broke it up maybe one or two or three sets. If you're crushed and it takes you 6 minutes to do those 20 thrusters, you're in a bad place mentally and physically, and you're probably going to time cap. Meaning that person that can do one or two at a time, and I have to place it down. That means you're doing somewhere between 10 to 20 freaking cleans as well. That's not going to be a person that can go right into a squat clean, where they just pop right into the squat. They're not going to have that skill set or strength set. So yeah, it's like now all of a sudden you're doing 10 or 20 ground to get it to my freaking shoulder reps. That does not help things at all. So yeah, it's zone 1 and 10, like smack right across the head, dude. You're in a bad way. You could put 10 at 1 and 1 at 10, it really wouldn't matter. Can you imagine the 20 thrusters at the freaking end? It might even be worse. But that dead ball, like I've got a rule at my house. My wife drives me crazy. I've got dead balls everywhere. I got rams everywhere. if you leave my room, I've got my Duonamic freaking pull-ups. I've got little boxes. I have to get to places. It's like unlock the key, get 100-pound ground to overhead. So I've been playing with that 100-pound dead ball for a long time. I love that type of farm work. It's so lightweight for me. Not on zone 10. No, that every single shoulder sucked the last time I did it. I've done it 5 times now, and every time it sucks. I'm like, shit, here we go again. I got to get it up to the shoulder, because you got a lot of acid built up in the muscles. The heart rate's up, and I got an ego, so I don't want to do it in freaking. I was like, if I don't hurry, I'm not going to break 17. So I'm pressing hard. So anyway, it's a fun test. It's one of those tests that you guys know what I'm talking about. I get nervous when it's time when the test is coming up. It's kind of like DEKA Fit. Like, it's like you get nervous, like, gosh, damn, this is going to be so painful. So,
What hit you the hardest, Beth?
The push press,
Okay.
the
I love
35-pound push press. Yeah,
Mhm.
I definitely, and I mean, I knew it probably was, but I split them up into, I think, probably 4 sets. I strategically split up the thrusters at the beginning into 2 sets, knowing I could do them unbroken, but knowing that one was coming later, um,
Mhm.
I found that pretty hard. Yeah.
It really, it really, it's like this really vibrant visual of, I was on a podcast the other day talking about this, and there was one day when I worked all day with Jacob Hepner, one of the best CrossFitters to ever walk the planet. He's like first ballot Hall of Famer type CrossFitter. And I was like, we'd worked like 5 hours, and I was building these tests down at the Alpha Warrior Proving Grounds, and he was just going like 5 hours nonstop. I was like turning him inside out. At least I thought I was. And he was like bouncing around. He's like, okay, dude, I got to go get my training session in. And I'm like, it hit me that day. I'd never spent all day with a high level CrossFitter or just any high level, like super high level strength athlete and strength endurance athlete. This is going to be a glaring example of those people that knock this out in 12, 13 minutes, and then just within 3 months they're trying to break 10. Or the Lauren Weeks, who's the fastest, she's the fastest to ever do it right now. She's kind of, I called Lauren when we thought we were done with DEKA Fit in the old abandoned Kmart, we called in Ryan Kent because he lived there, and we wanted to have one of the best on planet Earth. I knew 30-minute was going to be our Roger Bannister mark, and I was like, let's see if Ryan can break 30, and he went like 29:58. I was like, okay, it's perfect. And now 4 years later, only 6 or 7 people have ever done it. 10 is going to be that mark for this one. But think about the fact that you're going to have maybe 3 to 4% of the world, maybe 2 to 3% of the world is going to be able to do like that 16 and faster, which is like almost half of the cutoff. And then you're going to have another 3 or 4, 5% that can get it in, I think, in like 16 to 30. And then about 90% of the world that's not going to be able to do it. So it really is kind of a tip of the cap to the gym owners out there and their members and the type of training that they do that has a good strength foundation. Like a couple times a week, we're really focusing in on well-rounded strength training. My clients are strong. They are strong and they're always getting stronger. And they know, if you're a member of mine, we put big focus on strength, and I think the timing is great. Peter T and there's just so much research, new research out on, the value of strength training when you get into your 50s, 60s, and 70s. If you live 20 to 50 and you do not, and you let yourself go and you're just, maybe you're into a little bit of cardio. Okay. That longevity and the quality of life from 50 to 90 plus is not going to be the same. That doesn't mean that if you haven't started at 50, it's too late, but it's light bulb moment. We need to get our ass in there and start taking care. How can I maximize 50 to 60, 50 to 65 to start preparing myself for those 70s and 80s?
Yeah.
Well, and he stresses a lot too, Peter Attia and then Stacy Sims and other professionals who focus on menopausal women and perimenopausal women. And more what they're finding is that women need to lift heavy and like really lift heavy, and especially into, when someone's in that like 40, 50. And because again, our bone density and our muscle mass, it depletes so quickly if you're not truly lifting heavy, not just, going to the gym and going through the motions type stuff, or, doing your like cardio kickboxing, that type stuff. Like you have to put significant strain on the tissues in order to maintain, because, and Atya talks about it too, how like our muscle is truly our key to living a long and healthy independent life. So that's what I do like about it too, because I'm always pushing my ladies, like, you got to lift heavy, like you got to be going to failure, like you're not, it's
Yes.
not real strength training unless you are going to failure, and it makes them really uncomfortable. It's still, that effort level is really high trying to lift really heavy. So I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. There's a lot of base, there's several zones where you're getting heavy weight off the ground, and then you're holding the weight. You have the weight on the shoulder, you have the weight in the front squat, you're holding it to the side like two heavy ass briefcases. And again, but it was so careful on, we didn't want it to be high risk of injury. And I say it like this: if we could take a farmer that lives up in Canada by you guys, we could take a military operator, we could take a teacher, a nurse, a coach, a mom or a dad, just a general laborer, anybody out there that's lived a life of a decent level of strength training, base level of strength training, is going to be able to come in here and check this box. Those same people, whether they're really strong or they're not going to have to come in and learn a bunch of risky, high skill movements to pass this test. It's like labor. It's kind of like the same, in the same breath as how we designed DEKA Strong, Mile, and Fit. This is just this is going to be a nice level up for a lot of people that have done well. I got asked on the podcast today, it's like, who do you think, like right now, who's the perfect DEKA guy that's going to do the best? And I use like a Kevin Gregory is going to transfer right into this. And there's going to be some that are right behind him, even at DEKA Strong, could give him everything he could handle at DEKA Strong, and they're not going to be able to handle the weight as good as he could. These are two really different tests. You have to have a decent level of strength to conquer DEKA, but by design, I wanted almost everybody walking the planet to be able to do it. So you look at a 60-pound or 40-pound dead ball versus 100 and a 70. You look at 60 and 40 farmers versus 100 and a 70. I mean, that's now all of a sudden, like, to Bethany's point, if we're on the podcast with Peter right now, I want him giving us a fist bump saying, yeah, that really checks the box. I can lift 200 pounds off the ground or 140 pounds off the ground, walk with it. That really checks the box. And to your point, you can't, yeah, of course, Lauren Weeks did it, but 99% of the people in that 10% that can do it, they're going to be going to failure and have to break those sets up, rest a certain amount of time, let some flush happen, and then go right back into it. So I think the biggest critique that we're going to get, and I've already gotten it a little bit, is like, hey, I don't think it doesn't look like a really good, optically, visually appealing fitness test, like competition. It's not going to be like the perfect CrossFit Games. When you watching the games, like, oh, that was really fun it was visually fun watching that. This is a test that I want 10 years from now, people saying, dude, have you earned your, have you worked your way up to earn your DEKA Atlas mark? Yes, I'm now. I used to not be able to break 30. Now I'm 24 minutes right now, and my goal is to break 21 day. And that's we still have that with Strong Mile and Fit, of course. It's just a different test. And I if 10% can't do it now, my pie in the sky vision would be: could we one day have it to where 90% of the world could could do this? I'll say one more thing. My good friend Mike Hatfield, who was the command sergeant major for the U.S. Army, he managed every single fitness facility at every U.S. Army base on planet Earth. He oversaw it. And we were talking about how, in the 80s when he joined the military, and in the early 90s when I joined, he would say, I bet you 70, 80% of our U.S. Army back then could have done this test. Not right now. No way in hell. Police force, fire. My dad, when I was raised in a way where my dad told me, if you're being paid by the U.S. taxpayer and the U.S. taxpayer is paying you, you better be freaking physically fit and be able to perform when your country needs you. That's how I was raised. And that's not what we always get with our police and fire. And even for that matter, if you're a teacher or anybody that's paid by the taxpayer, you should be you not even require that person, but mentally you should say, I need to take care of myself mentally and physically because I'm here to serve my country. So, topic for another day.
Yeah. But it actually reminds me of a post I saw for a firefighter, and she says, "I can't do any pull-ups. I can barely do push-ups. Am I a bad firefighter?" And I was like, "Yeah." Well, I want someone strong enough. Hey, Bethany is a lot smaller than me, but I think if I went down in a fire, she could drag my ass out of there because she's strong. But yeah. Anyway, like you say, maybe that's a topic for another day. But
Yeah. I was the optics thing too. It's funny that you mentioned for a CrossFit competition because remember the CrossFit Games has had some optically horrendous events too. They
yeah.
did put the athletes on a rower for 42 kilometers and had everybody watch
Mhm.
it. And Chad. So I think if you're trying to
Bad.
compare to like some of the awful CrossFit workouts that we've watched too. So I don't think yeah, I don't think that that should be what
The
that
one
I
this
have,
year,
go ahead.
the one this year they were going to have was one where they were hitting the tire with the hammer, but with the standard for it, all they had to do was bring the head of the hammer over their own head, so they were like kind of over.
Yeah, we
Optically,
dealt
then
with
that would
that.
have
We
been
dealt with that at the
horrible.
Spartan Games in 2020.
Yeah.
Um, oh gosh, what was I going to say? I don't remember. Something had something wild.
So what something that I think will come up is one of the biggest questions because a lot of people have been trying to guess and figure out what's going on and all this stuff, playing kind of that 20 question
Mhm.
whatnot. Probably I think one of the biggest surprise to anyone is going to be like all DECA had the rower, the skier, the tank, the bike. There was a lot of essentially cardio machines, and then this is straight to none. Was that an easy decision to make?
Uh, I will say that it wasn't anywhere near the biggest factors, but convenience, equipment that a lot of gyms have right now. If you pay close attention when we ran down through it, it was you need a barbell, plates, dumbbells, jump rope, and a heavy dead ball or sandbag. That's it. That's it. And if you don't have one of those, it's not a seven, eight, $900 piece to get it there. It's much, much less than that. So now the and you guys knew this was coming. I do have an Atlas 800 ready and in the bag, and also going to be very, very convenient, more convenient than DEKA Mile actually. At some point in time we will. And one of the reasons I built the Atlas 800 was for our military, police, fire, and whatnot. So imagine, let's say we have two lines of equipment, one on the left side of the gym, one on the right side, and right down the middle is a 10-meter down and back shuttle run zone. So you start with 80 meters down and back four times, and you have to stab that line with your left or right hand down and back four times, knock out zone one, my 20 thrusters, 80 meters, knock out my burpee over bars. So now when you've done what I think is an even more challenging 800-meter running distance, is because there's a ton of turning, kind of that turn and transverse movement coming up out of that turn. and you got it works in a little more agility, speed, quickness, acceleration, a lot of acceleration and braking. So yeah, 800 meters. I tested that one out from start to finish, and I can drop a 5 minute mile right now, friggin' 58 second 400 meters. But my 800 meters was about 4 minutes and 50 seconds, and that was pushing because there's so many turns and accelerations, and I was winded in every single zone, even zone one. It hits different. We just the time will be right for that. I think gyms can naturally start, you know, working that in. So, but I love the fact that that could be done in the middle of, it could be freaking January in Canada and it's freezing cold outside, and you could knock that out and really check a good box for this. Now all of a sudden this epically well-rounded test for the police, the fire, the military, off season for high school kids. Think soccer or hockey or football or any sport where it's like that. Yeah, you're not on skates, but you are. I mean, I train hockey players sometimes down here, and we do a lot of things off the skates that are phenomenal for their conditioning. So I love that. So that will be there, but you guys both know that when you're doing it just as is, your heart rate is pretty damn high. That strength and definitely strength endurance box is absolutely checked.
Yeah. So this is something like you say, should be very easy for your affiliates, non-affiliates, everybody to come in and bolt on really quick because most of the equipment people are already going to have. Most of
Mhm.
it. I mean, some gyms might not have the 100-pound dead ball and the 100-pound dumbbells. That would be kind of the more obscure, or not obscure, but less used ones. Um, so it'd be in the gyms. Is this something that we could expect to see at like 2026 Worlds, or is this going to strictly be a gym event?
Well, I think it's a great question. It's come up a lot, and I think that gyms will actually have probably a little more freedom because of the convenience factor to, let's say Bethany organized, some type of 5 line of equipment event, in the late spring when the weather's nice and it's at a park somewhere, or maybe it's in the gym where, we have 150 people come to test, and it's like you kind of name it. I would love to say that we're going to have something for 25. If we do, I don't think you're going to see this bolted on to like a world championships, but you could see something like we saw in Indiana on day 2 where we had a DEKA Ultra World Cup. And, I would definitely like to have something like that in 25 where it's an official championship, because here's the deal. We've worked up to, like, I don't know, 8 or 9 countries with DEKA. This could be 30 countries affiliated and doing this within 3 months once we're officially rolling, because I mean, my gosh, like I said, any CrossFit box are similar, style training. This is going to mesh with them really well. And if there becomes some type of championship I can train for, I mean, just like that, I mean, what's holding us back from having 50, 60, 70 countries being able to eat? And then what happens with that, the beautiful part about our almost 400 gyms that are current affiliates, they're going to easily just be, you could say, okay, Bethany's going to do an 8 to 12 deca mile teams. And then from 12 to 2, she's going to do DEKA Atlas. Kind of like you bolt on Ruck now for an hour. This is going to be like, okay, come bolt on, and you're going to be able to get possibly twice as many people through in an hour or two that you would that same hour or two for if you got a 2 line of equipment, DEKA Strong or DEKA Mile. But from a sales perspective, let's say there's a gym out there that's a little hesitant to affiliate right now because they need a lot of the equipment. They can bolt on and start putting on DEKA Atlas events, make a little money, and slowly work themselves to being able to eventually bolt on Strong and Mile events, where the current gyms can they continue the Strong and Mile avenue and just start bolting on Atlas. Standalone day, or I think most will probably do it as like an add-on at the end of the day type thing, or the beginning of the day. So you get some people buying 2 tickets, but the shirts and medals are we're in the process. That's pretty much the only thing. I know one of the questions is gonna be like, when will we see these in 25? The shirts and the medals are pretty much the only thing. It's like we want to make 100% sure that those are sitting in the warehouse so those can be shipped out and people aren't crossing the finish line and don't have any swag. Um, Logos are looking cool and fun. I'd be very excited to share that. Robin, I think we may share some of that on Wednesday's call. The metal will be, it's just going to pop off the metal a little more. You're going to be able to see that this is an Atlas. By the way, the 2025 medals for you gym owners are so stinking cool. They are really freaking cool. The design team did a great job. The Atlas specific one, it'll just you'll be able to tell it's an Atlas medal and different than right now. If let's say somebody does DEKA Fit and they, oh my God, I just can't do that zone. I'm gonna have to skip that zone and I just keep going. Yeah, they're gonna get a penalty. The timing will catch it, but they're gonna get their medal when they finish. This is kind of like the Spartan Ultra. You don't get the medal. If you don't finish this, you do not take that medal home. And that's going to hit a little differently for somebody that purchased a ticket and gets, let's say you get time capped and you're pulled off the course, or maybe the gym owner could let them go ahead and finish, but you don't, and you're not going to get an official time and you don't get the medal, but at least you say, well, okay, it took me 35 minutes. You know,
I know next.
that's a bit of a game changer.
So, like most DEKA stuff, some of the big appeal is the global leaderboard. So we assume this will be have its own global leaderboard. Are you going to break it down in ages, same way kind of thing? And if you do
Yeah,
have a World Cup, just I'm thinking now, we did it with the Ruck recently, the over 45 division. I think that's not a bad idea. I mean, I'm just saying.
I think Ruck is. I think we're really going to see Ruck level up. Right now, and you never know. A year in, this could we might have to change this. And right now we are 17 to 59. And I'll be freaking honest. That definitely played a role in my mind. I was like, I want to be able to do this 7 years from now when I'm 59. I damn sure better be able to do this or I will be pissed off. So it's like 59. But I honestly feel when you look at these weights at 60, I think it's a good weight to where now the males can scale down to the females and the females can scale down to the standard we have that's right below the females. That'll be in the rule book. But from 17, this is a little different than the current Stronger Mile or Fit, where there's definitely some 13-year-olds that can't. I'm sorry, some 14-year-olds that can't do it, but there's almost no 14-year-olds that could do this. 17, you're a senior in high school. It's I like there will probably be about the same percentage of 17-year-olds that can't do it, that can't do DEKA Strong Mile or Fit at 14. But I like 70. Somebody's like, why didn't you go with 18? I was like, you know what? I've been coaching high schoolers for a long, long time. I think 17-year-olds should be able to freaking do that. That's the first age where it's like, if you can't, it's because you've just been sedentary. You're not doing any type of training. I always encourage people to play team sports. I think it's the greatest internship of a young man or woman's life. If you play team sports in middle school and high school, you flat out have an advantage in the real freaking world. That's a non-debatable in my mind. The kids that have been playing the sports are going to be the kids that are more likely to be able, a female basketball player, a lacrosse player, or softball player, track athlete that spend some time in the weight room, or a guy on the other side. There's a damn good chance they're going to be able to do this if they've been training hard.
So I got a question here, and I never even thought of this till now. So when you win a DEKA Fit, it's like there's a ram. When you win a DEKA Relay, there's a baton.
Ooh.
But what's in the
This one's easy. This one's easy.
Brain for the Atlas.
Yeah, the team and I they're already working on a really cool logo to mesh it in. Gosh dang it. I'll show you guys when the podcast is over. Because it might not be official when by Wednesday, but think of so Atlas was a Titan that got punished and tasked with holding the weight of the heavens on his shoulders. Well, and when you see that image, it's what do you make the heavens look like physically? It looks like the weight of the world. That's the classic Atlas image. It's sometimes a single shoulder, sometimes back here, sometimes in a forward lunge. It's a really cool image. So we want, I've reached out. I've seen them for like $5 online, kind of like the, I want something like this. This is like a $5 trophy that you get.
The death
and my wife knows, oh my God, if our house was on fire, I would get the kids out, the pets out, and then this. It's coming with me. It's just that type of trophy. So I want this little plastic tchotchke that's a cool looking Atlas. Somebody that's kind of gender neutral looking, holding the freaking weight of the world on his or her shoulders. That would be the perfect thing in my world because it gives he was in Greek mythology, Atlas was a Titan that got tasked with holding the way to the heavens. So it's too easy, man.
Nice, nice. That'll be good. That'll be awesome.
Somebody that got a cheap 3D printer for sale. I'll just be printing them up at the house nonstop.
I'm just get my brother to make my own then.
Yeah.
Just claim my own win. By the way, if you're looking to buy a 100 pound dead ball, you can actually get it on Amazon for a reasonable price. I was surprised.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
I got one on Amazon, and that's where I got mine. And I was like, wow, I was surprised. I
Did
was
you watch the delivery driver bring it to your front step?
No, but the box was actually round when it got to the front where by my door, so I'm pretty sure
They rolled it.
he rolled it up.
It's so good.
I
So
felt so
good.
bad. And it was one day to, well, so I ordered it and I'm like, oh my God, it was free delivery for a 100 pound ball. I was stunned.
I've fallen in love with dumbbell bear crawl so much that I'm going to go. I love doing challenges and kicking them out on social media, and then people message me saying what it took them time to. I used to do it a lot more when I was crazy busy with the Yancy camp. Now I'm nowhere near as busy with the Yancy camp as I used to be. But I'm going to go to the local football field and I'm going to do 100 yards, which will be 91 meters for you guys and gals. I'm going to do 100 yards of try to go unbroken with 100 pounds, 50 pounds in each hand, and I have no clue. It's like when I turned 50, I did this crazy thing called Yancey's Always Ready to Say Yes, and I would do some hard challenge that I had no clue if I could do it. This would be perfect for that. So I'm going to film it, and you might see me laid out at like the 47-yard line saying epic fail, but we're going to freaking see. It's funny when that camera's rolling, you do kind of become superhuman, and you will go harder than if the camera was not rolling.
Yeah. All right. So I got one more question for both of you.
Yeah.
This is Beth. If you were to do Atlas head to head against one person, who you picking?
Okay.
Um, like where I might win, or who would I just want to race?
I would assume you'd want a good race.
Well, I would want to do it against Heather because I'd want to try to keep up.
Oh,
Right.
that's
The three of us, I think the three of us are destined to do it since our times are pretty close.
that would be
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I would want to do somebody that's like 45 to 60 seconds faster than me,
Yeah.
just to see. I might crack. Sometimes you'll just crack and you'll
Mhm.
bonk out, but see if I could maintain. And then because zone 10, that's one zone that you can really press if you've got the reason to. Lauren started pressing because Anthony said you got a chance to break 10, so she really started hustling and just barely missed it. But yeah, that's so. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see those type of competitions because you got to be careful. I mean, if somebody, do you recover if you do all 20 thrusters unbroken and by yourself 20 seconds? You could easily lose 40. Easily lose 40
Mhm.
because of that. Um, oh wow, that's a good question. So Heather, he wants to go against Heather.
Mhm.
I would
Because
have
I know she's stronger than me, but my cycling speed would be faster on like some of the movements, like thrusters and burpees. So I
Mhm.
think we would be. I would try. She
you
would
know
beat
Heather
me.
though, as soon as Heather knows the worker, she's gonna be like, oh, I'm no good at any of those things. And then she's gonna
Yeah.
go out there
Then
and
she'd
just
smash
smash
it.
it like mad.
Yeah.
Well, look at
That'd be
this.
fun.
Let me see if I can find this real quick. Okay, Lauren, they were both moving. Lauren splits, insane. 38 for zone 1, 52. She beat Anthony by 15 seconds on the burpee over bar. She was jumping the whole time. Anthony started stepping over, which I step over too because I don't want to blow
My
myself up.
burpees over the bar were pathetic.
Yes. She was 108 in farmer's carry, 128 with the in zone 10, 128 with that 154. She took her time and she said she's already better at knocking out. You just getting a little better at the dumbbell crawl.
The
That was
first couple of steps on the bear crawl are awkward. Like it's
and yeah,
coming
then
off
you
the
get the rhythm.
line.
Yeah.
It's that
I kept rolling the dumbbell. Like it kept like rolling off to the side.
Oh, I hear Rye
Yeah,
chiming in.
Ryzen actually had that problem too.
Yeah.
She's like, finally, someone's with me.
Yeah. But it's funny. Every time I do it with hex bar, I'm like, that's what got me wanting to do that 100 yards per time because I'm like, you just get in that rhythm and it's like, oh, that foot is matching and it just feels so good. And then you got to turn.
Oh,
I want to try to go 100 yards.
the turn, like I said, the turn and the restart, it's almost like you got to reset your brain and go, all right,
Yes.
which foot, which hand? It's like learning to walk again kind of thing.
Mhm.
I
It
think
gets you.
I finally have a system with that. Yeah. I was the same way for the first like 2 weeks of turning. It just wasn't super efficient that first move.
Yeah. So
But
that's a good one. I always like the dumbbell snatch. The dumbbell snatch for me is it's almost a recovery. Just because that's a
yes,
movement
you
that
know
is
what?
just so natural for me. You could have jacked that one up to 80 pounds and I'd have been fine with it. And
It's that's I feel the same way. It's the most common CrossFit Open or whatever. They use the 50 and the 35, but I mean, I think it's honestly my easiest zone, but some people it's not. And really and truly, when you can do the fluid snatch, it's easier than a clean to a push press. The clean to push press sucks. So, but that's what some people will have to do because they can't pop off the ground quick enough to get that 50 or 35 pounds going fluidly overhead. That's a little I like that one because it's a nice low skill, but a little bit of skill.
yeah.
I love the fact that people are going to get really good at these basic things.
No, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, and here's a question that will come up actually. So being as it's not for everybody, being as it's
Mm-hmm.
that a higher barrier of entry, the is it possible like the how do I put this like financially will this pay off as well as say some of the other events like a strong or like a mile, which where it's so easy to go through?
Phenomenal question. I think here's how there's a couple ways to look at this. 95% of the world, there's no way in hell they can finish a marathon, but tens of millions of people finish a marathon. Um, a race that I freaking love how they created it, the movement they created, how they're doing now is High Rocks. I freaking love the High Rock. I love what they're doing there. Yeah, it's a competition, but not. I don't really look at it as an actual full blown competition. We're definitely a much different brand. If we pull 1,000 random people off the street, there's a very, very large percentage of them. There's no way in hell they're going to finish that race. That's just a fact with some of the things. But dude, 100,000 plus people are doing it every year already. So the marathon, the Kona, the freaking Ironman triathlon, millions of people are doing it globally. It's, the fact that I think it'll take a little bit, but the fact that with the convenience of, yes, I do think this is going to help affiliate sales because more gyms okay, I can get bolted on now. I'll get my rowers and I got to get another ski, whatever. I'll get that stuff. But the fact that they can start holding these events, and I think, and this may sound a little crazy, but I think the 90% that can't do this compared to the 90% that can't do the marathon, I think you can get to this finish line faster than the marathon. And no harm, no foul to the marathon. I'm not a fan of it. People just say, well, it's like a lot of people are doing it, so I want to do that. I'm never going to be a fan of the fact when the world record holder is a 122-pound guy and the world record holder is a 98-pound female. Not a fan of that at all. Don't think it's healthy. Just me, just this coach I doesn't think it's very healthy. If you want to cross that finish line to check that box mentally, great. I'm just a different type of coach, and I'm not that guy that's steering people to that. Now, if you want to do the Spartan Ultra or the Decafit Ultra to check that box, there's a different level of training that goes into that versus just running as fast as you can on the pavement. So again, I know I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole there, but I do think people can cross this finish line faster with a 6-month training. So imagine every person, let's say we did a research project and Bethany and I, and you, Dave, we took 100 people and we said, okay, we're going to build a 9-month, very, very specific macro cycle. And it's not even going to throw your current training upside down, but we're going to start meshing in stuff with these 4 or 5 zones. Dude, every single person that, like, let's take Nicole. Freaking, I know she's already told me, I'm going to do this. Nicole's going to take a couple of these zones, the ones that are giving her trouble, and she's going to train like a freaking rock star at it. And I guarantee you, within a year, That girl's we're gonna be hanging a DEKA Atlas medal around her neck. You watch. There's a lot of people that can say that. Marathon's a little different. It's a little different, and a lot of injuries are going to creep in. So yeah, but it's a great question. I don't. I mean, the fingers are crossed a little bit. I hope that, we can get. I do think the 400 affiliates that we have now, a lot of them will start bolting this on, and you're going to have. It's fun that some of their members can start banging the chest, and the owner can tip the cap to you. You've been working hard. You deserve this medal. And there's going to be some water cooler talk about, gosh dang it, I got to do that. I'm going to start coming to class. Well, I'm going to, I come to the cardio class. I need to start coming to the 2 days a week, the specific strength training class that I've been avoiding. I need to get into those. What's going to happen? Shoot, in some cases, 3 to 4 months. 2 months, my thrusters, I can go knock out. I probably wouldn't if I was racing youth two right now, but I can go knock out 20 thrusters relatively, not easy, but I don't know if I could have done that 2 months ago without breaking those up, and that's because I've just been training.
I'm gonna go unbroken just to see if Beth follows.
If we race head to head.
Yeah, just to see if she follows.
It's amazing what
I
12
take
second
a chance.
rest will a 12 to 15 second rest is such a game changer.
No. See, if I even did them unbroken, she would just go, it doesn't matter because I'm just gonna destroy him on the burpees over the bar anyway.
Right, I'll catch up.
So is Beth who you want to race?
You just got to try to hang with her on the bars.
Ryan just asked, is it Beth that I want to race against? I don't know. Beth and I have raced so many times in so many different things. I think I've had my ass handed to
Yeah.
me. I think
I would want to race. Oh man, I would want to race. Um, mm,
There's a 30-minute time cap.
I would want to race.
Ryan's gonna time cap you here, Yance.
You know what? I would want to go with somebody like I'm I sadistic mind. I would want to go with somebody like Kevin and just literally try to I'm really good at destroying myself, like crawl into the car and hide, just run me over. I'm done. I would want to see like how close. Just go all in, see if I can try to hang with him as long as I can. Probably I would trash myself, but yeah.
There's actually a guy I have in mind that I'd like to race against for this, and I know he and I are already set up to have some epic battles this year at Worlds in Ocala, so it goes par for the course. But Tim Mazur, I think he and I would have a really good go. I think it's
Yes.
a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though he's a little younger than me, so I should
It
get
was
it.
good. It feels good when we beat people younger than us.
That's right. And I beat Tim a
I,
lot.
I go train with a bunch of high schoolers all the time, bunch of high school football athletes, and I'm almost too transparent. Every single 2 hour session, I program one or two things that I know I'm going to kick their ass in.
Right.
Like, yep, we're going to do something that takes 4 minutes, unbroken for 4 minutes, and you're all going down. And they're like, "Gosh, dang, coach, you're really fit." I was like, "No, I'm just good at programming."
Awesome. All right, yes. Anything else you want to throw out there about it, or are we good for tonight?
I think we're good, man. We covered a lot. Just, I'm excited I'm really excited to give a tip of the cap to the all the gyms out there that have been really consistently providing the type of training that gets people prepared for something like this, and gyms that have a lot of people that will cross this finish line right out of the gate, and have a lot of members that won't take long before they get there. And just a tip of the cap to anybody, any of our ages that can step up to this arena and do that. It's a pretty neat thing. You can't fake this. You guys know you're not gonna be able to fake this. And I'm excited about that. And we'll obviously always present it in a way that makes everybody, we will overuse that word attainable and all the synonyms for attainable. And yeah, I dream of the day when we can flip it upside down. 90% can do it, and we're working on the last 10%. That would be a dream come true for me. We all want to leave a legacy, and yeah, that's just getting people to enjoy the world's most powerful drug, fitness, movement, exercise.
Awesome.
We've seen it change and save lives. That's why we love what we do so much, and get some people to cross this finish line. And I know we'll see some tears. There's going to be some tears. People training for a year and they finally get this. That's going to be moments that fill up my love tank. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right. Thanks, Yancy. And everybody.
Good to hear your voice back there, Rye. Thanks for keeping us all in order.
All right, Beth.
Yeah, thanks so much, Yancy. And I'm also really excited to bring this to my gym and just give my clients something else to challenge them and give them something else to train for. So thanks for all the work that you put in to create something like this. And thanks for coming on and talking to all of us about it.